Aim at weak point, his father said, stepping back. Kill in one strike. Ichuan tightened his grip. Ichuan swung the blade down with overwhelming force. 3 seconds later, the lifeless pig finally stopped breathing. Immediately, the system displayed a notification. Pig-slaying god Ichuan has successfully butchered a fat pig. Gained 1% experience. Damage against the pig tribe increased by 1%. Plus 0.1 free attribute point. Ichuan burst into laughter. He commended his son's effort, acknowledging Ichuan's strength, though he noted with slight disappointment that the strike lacked precision. It had failed to kill the pig instantly. He reminded Ichuan to target the main artery. If the blade was swift and ruthless enough, the pig wouldn't even have time to scream. Ichuan nodded to show he understood, though his face remained mostly expressionless. Sensing his son's lack of enthusiasm, Ichuan encouraged him. He admitted that repetitive slaughtering could feel tedious, but he emphasized that this was the trade that sustained their livelihood. Before Ichuan could say more, Ichuan interrupted with a gesture, pointing toward the herd of pigs and requesting permission to slaughter the rest. Seeing his son take initiative, Ichuan grinned with pride. He gave his approval, even suggesting that Ichuan could butcher Uncle Lee's and Uncle Tran's pigs as well. And so began Ichuan's journey as a slaughterhouse butcher. He repeated the process tirelessly, honing his skill with each kill. Initially, he relied on abilities and multiple strikes to finish the job. But as his proficiency grew, he needed only 3 clean swings. Sometimes, with his dominant hand, a single precise strike was enough, silencing the pig without so much as a squeal, just like his father. Over time, Ichuan's butchering skills improved dramatically. He no longer needed abilities, and the number of required strikes dwindled further. With each kill, the system rewarded him. Pig-slaying god Ichuan has successfully butchered a fat pig. Gained 1% experience. Damage against the pig tribe increased by 1%. Plus 0.1 free attribute point. By the day's end, he had slaughtered 49 pigs. His damage bonus against the pig tribe reached 100%, and his 3 core attributes had risen from 10 to 14.9. If not for his exhausted, trembling arms, he would have gladly continued. The other workers watched in awe, shocked by how quickly Ichuan had mastered the craft. Some even questioned whether he was truly Ichuan's biological son. After all, he had accomplished in a single day what took them a full week. Ichuan, beaming with pride, dismissed their astonishment. "Don't be so surprised," he told them. "My son is a god-tier butcher." Had Ichuan's profession not been limited to pig slaughtering, Ichuan truly believed his son could become a butcher so terrifying that the entire world would tremble before him. Meanwhile, Ichuan stared intently at the butcher knife in his hand. A strange feeling stirred within him. He didn't understand why, but killing pigs felt inexplicably relaxing and satisfying, as if he could do it endlessly without boredom. The next day, Ichuan packed his backpack and left home. Inside were his familiar butcher knife, some food, water, and liquor. Slaughtering pigs inside the facility was safe, but the efficiency was far too low. This world was home to countless races and infested with monsters. Humanity no longer divided itself by national borders. Instead, it had united under the Human Federation, which was split into 9 special zones. Qiqing, the city where Ichuan lived, was located on the edge of Special Zone 5. Leaving the safety of human territory meant facing dangerous races, many of which saw humans as food. However, for those with combat professions, the outside world was the best place to train and grow stronger. Staying indoors forever would never forge a top-tier powerhouse. Before leaving the city, Ichuan completed a simple registration procedure at the gate. The guard warned him that, as a life skill type professional, he was only permitted to operate within a 1-kilometer radius of the city. Ichuan nodded obediently, then turned and walked out. The world outside was nothing like the city. It was wild and desolate, with thick, unchecked grass stretching into the distance. The deeper Ichuan ventured, the quieter everything became, until only the sound of wind whistling past his ears remained. As he entered a dense patch of low shrubs, Ichuan grew alert. He had a vague feeling that something, or someone, was watching him. A black shadow leapt out from the bushes. It was a humanoid creature about 1 meter tall, green all over, wielding a small knife. The goblin screamed as it lunged at Ichuan. Recognizing the creature instantly, Ichuan activated his skill, Blood Shadow of the Butcher. A burst of killing intent erupted, freezing the goblin in fear for a full second. Seizing the moment, Ichuan rushed forward and swung his blade down. The goblin didn't even have time to react before it was cleanly sliced in two. Thanks to his 100% bonus damage from Pig Tribe Nemesis, killing the goblin had been effortless. A system notification appeared. Butcher Ichuan has slain a special pig using a butcher knife. Gained 5% experience. Pig Tribe Nemesis bonus increased by 1%. Plus 0.1 free attribute point. Ichuan realized that the stronger the pig-like creatures he killed, the better the rewards. Slaughtering a regular pig only granted him 1% experience, but this goblin had given him 5%. The time investment was nearly the same, but the payoff was far greater. Then he remembered his teacher's warning. Goblins are cunning, aggressive, and highly united. If one appears in front of you, it's a distraction. The real ones will ambush you from behind. Sure enough, a group of goblins slowly emerged from hiding, their eyes burning with fury. But Ichuan didn't see enemies, he saw giant sacks of EXP. With a fierce grin, he shouted, "Come on then, you ugly little pigs!" The goblins charged at him in unison. Ichuan did not flinch. Instead, he gripped his butcher knife tightly and charged into the group of goblins, unleashing a merciless slaughter. In this world, goblins were at the very bottom of the food chain. Were it not for their rapid reproduction, their species would have been wiped out long ago. With another swift swing of his blade, the nearest goblin collapsed without so much as a whimper, lifeless before it even hit the ground. Finally, only one goblin remained. The creature trembled violently, its eyes wide with terror as it watched its companions fall one after another. When Ichuan's cold, unfeeling gaze locked onto it, the goblin turned and fled. But Ichuan did not give chase immediately. Instead, he followed at a distance, knowing that goblins never traveled alone. Where there was one, there was a nest. Sure enough, the goblin scurried into a dark mountain cave. Without hesitation, Ichuan stepped inside, his lips curling into a chilling, deranged smile, the grin of a true predator. Agonized shrieks erupted from the cave's depths. The stench of blood thickened in the air. An hour later, silence fell over the cave. Not a single goblin remained standing. The ground was littered with corpses, most of them untouched except for a single, fatal slash across the throat. Emerging from combat, Ichuan assessed his gains. In just 1 hour, he had slaughtered 73 goblins. The risk had been worth it. The power he gained in the wild far surpassed what he could achieve in a slaughterhouse. His current stats were: Strength, 251. Agility, 25. Spirit, 25. Pig Tribe Nemesis bonus, plus 120%. Unrelenting, Ichuan pressed deeper into the cave. The air grew fouler, thick with the stench of blood and decay, enough to make an ordinary man retch. At the farthest reaches of the cavern, he discovered what appeared to be the goblins' breeding grounds, sealed behind a crude wooden door. With a single kick, Ichuan shattered it open. Inside, he found a woman, filthy but unharmed, her clothes still intact, along with several small goblin children. Though gagged, her eyes widened with desperate hope at the sight of Ichuan. She strained against her bonds, muffled pleas escaping her lips as she begged for salvation. The young woman with a ponytail trembled, tears streaming down her cheeks, as a filthy cloth was jammed between her lips. Before her, Ichuan stood tall, raising his knife high. Her heart pounded. Panic seized her chest. She squeezed her eyes shut, a single desperate thought flashing through her mind: she didn't want to die. With a swift, decisive motion, the blade cut through the air. A scream tore from her throat, only to falter as the cloth fell from her mouth, not her life slipping away. Yichuan bent forward, his voice calm yet firm. He told her to stop shouting. The goblins were already dead. Confused, she turned her head. Behind her lay the bodies of goblin children. Realization struck. He wasn't threatening her. Overcome with relief, she threw her arms around him, thanking him over and over, confessing that she had nearly been ruined by those creatures. But Yichuan's expression didn't soften. He said he hadn't come to save her. Still, she couldn't hide her disbelief. She asked if he had truly slain all those goblins, praising him as amazing and wondering aloud if he belonged to a combat class. Yichuan did not answer her question. Instead, he began walking away. She quickly called after him, asking for his name. Without looking back, he replied, "Yichuan." Once they stepped outside the cave, Yichuan stopped and pointed toward the open plains. He told her that if she kept heading in that direction, she would eventually reach the city. Then he continued walking, leaving her behind. But the girl began to follow him. Yichuan halted suddenly. Turning sharply, he brought his knife up close to her face, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. He demanded to know why she was following him, and warned her not to tell him she was a spy sent by the goblins. Flustered, the girl quickly shook her head. No, she just didn't dare to return alone. Yichuan studied her for a moment before asking her name and her reason for being there. She told him her name was Xia Nanan. In a few days, it would be her mother's birthday, and she had set out to find a blood moon flower as a gift. Unfortunately, she was captured by goblins before she could return. Her gaze shifted to his weapon. She proposed a deal. If he helped her find the blood moon flower, she would take him to Qingqing's best weapon forger so he could have a new blade made. Yichuan asked if she even knew Qingqing's best weapon forger. Then his voice turned cold. He told her to go back and to stop following him, or he would cut her down. Inside, Xia Nanan's thoughts simmered. She couldn't believe someone could treat her, a beauty like herself, with such coldness. Was there something wrong with him? She continued following him, calling out from behind, asking if he knew who she was, and mentioned that her father was Xia Beihai. Yichuan's thoughts sharpened at the name. Xia Beihai, head of one of Qingqing's 4 great aristocratic families, a 9th-rank master-class transferee, only a single step away from becoming a Grand Master. If that was true, then with her father's wealth, having him forge 10 top-tier pig butcher blades would be nothing at all. Without hesitation, she showed him her family token, the crest of the Xia clan etched into its surface. She explained that it was her father's protective token. With it, even a climbing pond realm transferee couldn't harm her in the slightest. She had only been captured because she was taken by surprise. Unable to injure her directly, the goblins had locked her up instead. Yichuan stepped closer, his eyes scanning the token. She flushed faintly under his scrutiny, thinking that if it had been anyone else, they might have already taken advantage of her vulnerable state. He recognized the token's authenticity. Extending his hand, he told her he believed her, he would help her find the blood moon flower, and in return, she would help him secure a top-tier blade. They sealed the agreement with a simple handshake. Xia Nanan reached into her belongings and pulled out a folded map. She explained that she had purchased it from someone else, and it marked the exact location of the blood moon flower. But she warned, wherever such a flower grew, a blood moon python would be close by, and those creatures were extremely dangerous. Yichuan raised an eyebrow. "A python?" he asked. She nodded, recalling the details from the Wilderness Survival Guide. The blood moon python, she explained, possessed strength on par with a 9th-rank apprentice. She admitted she wasn't sure if he could handle it in his current state. Yichuan gave no sign of concern. In fact, he remarked casually that he had never even seen a python before. Xia Nanan's inner thoughts churned. Was this man even listening to her? Still, she reasoned, if he could single-handedly wipe out an entire goblin tribe, he had to be a god-tier combat class. With that, he urged her forward. "Let's go! You lead the way." As they traveled, she couldn't shake the strange impression he gave her, somehow both reliable and unreliable at the same time. The scene shifted to an open grassland. The two crouched low in the tall grass. Not far away, a massive silver-horned rhino grazed peacefully. Xian Nanen's voice dropped to a whisper. They must not provoke it, she warned, because once enraged, its power could rival that of an 8th-rank apprentice. Xian Nanen's voice was low but urgent. She reminded Yichuan that they only needed to quietly go around the creature. But as she spoke, he raised his blade and pointed it toward the silver-horned rhino. He said if it dared to eat grass today, it would dare to eat people tomorrow. Such a beast could not be left alive. Her jaw dropped at the reasoning. That's your reason? She stammered, disbelief cutting through her fear. Before she could say more, Yichuan's body moved. He surged forward in a sudden burst of speed, the ground crunching beneath his boots. As he closed the distance to the rhino, the beast turned its head at the motion, but it was already too late. Yichuan's arm drew back, the blade flashing with lethal precision. The silver-horned rhino let out a strangled, guttural sound. Before its massive frame collapsed onto the grass. Dark green blood spilled rapidly from the wound, soaking into the earth. For a moment, Xian Nanen could only stand there, frozen in shock. The massive silver-horned rhino lay motionless before her. Then, after a heartbeat of stunned silence, her voice broke the stillness, a sharp, disbelieving cry. She screamed in astonishment that he had killed it with a single strike.
A glowing system prompt popped up in Yichuan's vision like an annoying mobile game ad. Congrats! Level up. Rank, 7th Apprentice. Pig Clan Nemesis bonus. Now 122% damage, because nothing says balance like overkill. Yichuan glanced at his cleaver. The poor thing looked like it had been through a blender. How much longer you gonna last, buddy? He wondered, giving it a sympathetic pat. Probably not great that my weapon's durability is hanging on by sheer willpower. Xian Nanen clamped onto Yichuan's arm like a startled koala. What are you? She demanded, her voice cracking like a teenager's mid-puberty. Life-type profession, he said, shrugging. Pig butcher. Bullshit. She screeched, flailing her arms like a windmill in a hurricane. Since when do butchers one-shot monsters? That rhino could have tanked a meteor strike. Yichuan, unfazed, knelt beside the corpse and started hacking off the silver horn like a guy carving Thanksgiving turkey. Good stuff, he muttered. Probably just died, 'cause it was old or something. Xian Nanen's eye twitched. Oh sure. The apex predator just happened to drop dead from old age the second you swung. Very believable. But lacking any better explanation, and frankly too tired to argue, she sighed. We're almost at the blood moon flower. Let's just go. As they trudged forward, Xian Nanen kept sneaking glances at Yichuan's cleaver. That thing looks like it belongs in a museum labeled primitive cooking tools, do not touch. And yet. Meanwhile, the cleaver's durability bar keeps shrinking. The scene cut to another part of the forest, where the principal of Qingchong Academy was leading his students like a tour guide at a monster-infested zoo. You've all performed adequately, he said, in that tone adults use when they're technically praising you but also implying you could have done better if you just applied yourself. His eyes lingered on Su Lingxuan, cold, elegant, probably thinking about how much better she was than everyone else. You too, the principal nodded, are the ones I think most highly of. Q Lu Jinglong's ego inflating to dangerous levels. Suddenly, the principal stiffened. He barked, spinning toward the trees like a startled meerkat. Show yourselves. And like a poorly timed punchline, Yichuan and Xian Nanen stepped out of the shadows. Yichuan blinked. Oh great. Just who I wanted to see. Lu Jinglong's finger shot up like a badly aimed firework, pointing directly at Yichuan. You, he screeched, his voice hitting notes only dogs should hear. What the hell are you doing in the borderlands? Yichuan scratched his head. Passing by. Wrong answer. The heavy-set female student snorted. Yeah right. You're still obsessed with Su Lingxuan, aren't you? Pathetic. Yichuan's gaze flicked to Su Lingxuan, and in his eyes, she was once again Pigface Girl, staring at him with the warmth of a tax auditor. Yichuan, she said, voice sharp enough to slice bread, I thought I made myself clear. We're from different worlds, now stop pestering me. A dark red aura flickered around Yichuan. His fist clenched. Oh, this was gonna be fun. Lu Jinglong's face twisted into a villainous grin, the kind usually reserved for cartoon henchmen right before they get punted into the sun. Perfect, he cackled. I was just worried I wouldn't get to settle our score. Then, he unleashed his power. A purple aura exploded around him, and in his hand materialized a glowing katana so shiny it probably had its own Instagram filter. Whoa! Lu Jinglong's lackey gasped. That's a yellow rank low-grade spirit weapon. Lu Jinglong preened. Yeah, that's right. Fear me. The principal of Qingchong Academy watched Lu Jinglong's glow up with the pride of a man who had severely misjudged a situation. In just a few days he's already a 4th rank apprentice, and that yellow rank spirit weapon, the principal mused, stroking his chin like a villain in a low-budget drama. Truly, a genius among insects. His confidence in Lu Jinglong skyrocketed. Why, he could probably fight evenly with a 6th rank apprentice. Reality check. Meanwhile, Yi Chuan, casually standing there with a cleaver held together by duct tape and spite, was already rank 7. Su Lingxuan stepped forward, her expression colder than a freezer-burned dumpling. Yi Chuan, she said, voice dripping with disdain, I told you to leave Qingqing. This time, don't expect me to save you. Yi Chuan blinked. Did you ever? Beside him, Xiananan, face flushed with second-hand embarrassment, whispered, do you have like a grudge with these people? Yi Chuan shrugged. More like a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding where they all hate you. She wanted to scream. Hey, Xiananan, he said, completely ignoring the imminent violence. How much do you think a yellow rank low-grade spirit weapon sells for? Xiananan's brain short-circuited. Wah. Several 100,000, probably. But, hey, are you seriously thinking about money right now? Yi Chuan nodded, eyes locked on the sword. Good resale value. Lu Jinglong's eye twitched. Are you mocking me? Yi Chuan finally looked at him. Oh, you're still here. Lu Jinglong's eye twitched as the traumatic highlight reel of his past humiliation played in his mind. Yi Chuan stealing the spotlight at the awakening ceremony, making him look like a background character in his own life. Not this time, he seethed, gripping his glow-in-the-dark katana like it was the last chicken wing at a buffet. I'll show them all. With a roar that sounded suspiciously like a yelp, he leapt into the air, bringing his sword down in a totally unstoppable strike. Su Lingxuan and the other students gasped. He's dead. Yi Chuan yawned and raised his rusty butcher's cleaver to block. Lu Jinglong poured every ounce of his strength into the downward strike. An audible crack split the air. Yi Chuan's ordinary blade, pushed beyond its limits, shattered into pieces. Lu Jinglong's face twisted into a triumphant sneer. After today, he spat, you'll never butcher another pig. His chest swelled with victory as he glanced toward Su Lingxuan, eager to see her reaction to his display of power. The principal observed coldly from the sidelines, his thoughts clear. No mundane blade could hope to match a true spirit weapon. This confrontation had reached its inevitable conclusion. Yet the fight wasn't over. Yi Chuan examined the broken knife handle still clutched in his fist. With a dismissive flick of his wrist, he tossed it aside. His calm voice cut through the tension. I don't need a knife to deal with you. Lu Jinglong's face flushed crimson. Rage, hot and uncontrollable, surged through his veins. Don't say I didn't warn you, he shrieked, voice cracking with fury. Die. With a final desperate cry, he swung his glowing sword with all his might. Yi Chuan's eyes flashed. In a movement too fast to follow, he sidestepped the lethal arc of the spirit weapon. His right fist shot forward like a piston, connecting squarely with Lu Jinglong's abdomen. The impact sounded like a thunderclap. Lu Jinglong's body folded around the fist before being launched backward. He sailed through the air, limbs flailing, before crashing to earth in an undignified heap. Jinglong! His friend cried out, rushing to the fallen student's side. Lu Jinglong groaned, his body racked with pain. Through gritted teeth he managed to gasp, I'm all right. Though his trembling limbs and ashen face suggested otherwise. All eyes turned to Yi Chuan, standing unscathed where the battle had begun. The principal's gaze burned into him, dark and calculating. As he stepped forward, his mind raced with a startling possibility. Could this unassuming young man truly have reached the 7th rank?
Yi Chuan scooped up the spirit weapon his opponent had so kindly dropped. Another trophy for the collection, he mused, inspecting the blade. It looked pretty decent, actually. Meanwhile, on the sidelines, Lu Jinglong's friend was having a full-blown meltdown in front of the principal. There's no way that guy is rank 7! The prodigy Shuling Swan is only rank 6! The principal, looking like a wise old sage who'd heard it all before, just nodded with a thoughtful expression. Yeah, it was possible. He launched into a lecture, explaining the whole messed-up leveling system. Combat-type professions, he said, need real-world experience, training, brutal fights, near-death experiences. Their early growth is a slow, painful grind. But once they get good, their progress skyrockets. Life-type professions, on the other hand, get the cheat codes early on. Alchemists? They just make potions. Weaponsmiths? They just bang on metal. And Yi Chuan, the pig butcher? He just has to keep slaughtering pigs. A quick flashback showed Yi Chuan effortlessly disassembling a pig, highlighting his unique training regimen. Shuling Swan finally understood. Yi Chuan hadn't won on skill. He'd won because he'd no-lifed his way to a higher level and had the raw stats to crush them. She questioned if this was even fair. Balance! The principal declared, as if that made it all okay. He explained that Yi Chuan's pig slaughtering quest was about to get a whole lot harder. The number of pigs required would double with each rank, eventually requiring a pigpocalypse. Meanwhile, the combat classes who'd put in the hard work early would eventually zoom right past him. So, Lu Jinglong's friend chimed in, ever the optimist. You're saying while he can beat us now, in a few years we'll squash him like a bug? The principal grunted in agreement, though he looked a little troubled by the brutal honesty. Having heard his entire career path summarized and then dismissed, each one seemed to take it in stride. He turned to leave with a casual wave. If there's nothing else, I've got pigs to slaughter. Later. But just as he was about to make a clean getaway, Shuling Swan stepped forward, looking at him with a mix of pity and disdain. Why are you even doing all this? Was all this effort just some sad attempt to show off for me? She then dropped her bombshell. She'd been accepted into the prestigious Tianqing Academy. They were from different worlds now. Yi Chuan could only stare, his face a perfect blank slate. Wow, she really loves the sound of her own voice, he probably thought. Xiananin's patience finally shattered. Are you people ever going to stop? She exploded, stepping between Yi Chuan and his accusers like a furious barrier. Yi Chuan was helping me look for the blood moon flower. Running into you guys was just our spectacularly bad luck. She planted her hands on her hips, her glare sweeping over the entire, judgmental academy group. So, what kind of delusional, dramatic nonsense are you all making up in your heads? The plus-size girl from the academy sneered, her voice dripping with mock surprise. She exclaimed that someone actually treasured the scumbags Su Lingxian dumped. Lu Jinglong's friend eagerly chimed in, nodding along. He agreed, stating that Yi Chuan had no other skills, but he was certainly good at picking up women. He leered, looking between them, and remarked that Yi Chuan had found a new one so quickly. A bitch and a dog, a match made in heaven. Xiananin's patience officially evaporated. She threw a single, furious punch that unleashed a shockwave of energy. It was a blast so indiscriminate it nailed not only the two loudmouths but the entire academy group, including a very confused Shuling Swan and the utterly baffled principal. The principal staggered back, a bright red handprint blooming on his cheek. Why am I included in this? Xiananin stood defiantly next to the stoic Yi Chuan, fists still clenched. Shuling Swan, holding her own stinging cheek, could only look on in utter disbelief. Her rage ignited, an icy blue aura of her snow soul sword immortal power flaring to life around her. She drew her sword, asking how she dared hit her, and if she was looking to die. As Shuling Swan prepared to lunge, Xiananin did not even flinch. Instead, she calmly held up her family's protective amulet. The sight of the amulet acted like a freeze spell, immediately stopping everyone in their tracks. This wasn't a fight. This was a career-ending mistake. He instantly sprang into action, grabbing Shuling Swan's sword arm and shouting for her to stop. He urgently explained to her, and everyone else that he now recognized the girl as the young miss of the powerful Xia family. His entire demeanor did a complete 180, shifting from commanding authority to desperately friendly. He turned to Xian Nanan with an apologetic, almost simpering expression and asked what she was doing there in their humble region. Xian Nanan was having exactly zero of his small talk. She dismissed his question with a wave, stating bluntly that she could go wherever she wanted. She then immediately turned the tables, criticizing him for the poor quality and terrible manners of his students. The principal could only bow his head in apology, readily agreeing that it was his mistake and promising to discipline them all thoroughly when they returned to the academy. But Xian Nanan wasn't finished. She pointed an accusatory finger directly at Su Lingxuan and demanded that the principal make her apologize to Yichuan. The demand left Su Lingxuan utterly stunned. Her mind was reeling with the realization that this rude girl was the daughter of the legendary Xia Beihai. She couldn't process why someone of such incredibly high status would ever be associating with someone like Yichuan. The principal, desperate to avoid offending the Xia family any further, sternly ordered Su Lingxuan to apologize immediately. Cornered and utterly humiliated, Su Lingxuan offered a reluctant, barely audible apology to Yichuan, her eyes fixed on the ground. Internally, however, her face was a mask of pure, seething fury. She silently vowed that the Xia family would pay for this insult. Having had more than enough of the drama, Yichuan told Xianan simply, "Let's go." As they turned to leave, the defeated Lu Jinglong, still crumpled on the ground, cried out for them to stop. He demanded that Yichuan return his spirit weapon. Yichuan, with the stolen sword still slung on his back, glanced over his shoulder with a cocky smirk. He taunted Lu Jinglong, challenging him to come and take it back himself if he could, adding that he was ready for a rematch any time. For good measure, Xianan blew a playful raspberry at the defeated rival. Lu Jinglong could only clutch his chest, seething with powerless anger. As Yichuan walked away, Lu Jinglong screamed a final, furious threat after him. "Just you wait!" Finally free of the academy drama, Yichuan and Xianan pressed on with their actual mission. The rocky terrain crunched underfoot, a stark contrast to the earlier emotional battlefield. Xianan double-checked her map, then squinted up at a foreboding cliffside. A cave entrance, glowing with an ominous red light, was their target. "This is definitely the place," she confirmed, her voice losing its usual playful edge. A familiar chime echoed in Yichuan's mind. Finally, some decent loot notification. New weapon designated. Spirit sword has been assigned as your exclusive pig-slaying knife. Unique effect, God-slaying edge is now active. Bonus, superior weapon quality grants 0.2 attribute points per pig slain. He glanced at the spirit sword on his back. So a better blade means more stats per chop. Note to self, never settle for cheap cutlery again. His train of thought was abruptly derailed as Xianan rummaged in her cleavage and produced two small, vibrantly colored orbs. Yichuan stared, momentarily speechless. "Is there a hidden inventory pouch in there?" "What are those?" he finally managed to ask. Xian Nanan's face flushed slightly as she brandished the two spheres. "This thing is called a Thunderfire Pearl," she corrected. "If an Ascension Realm expert is caught off guard, a blast from this would be enough to heavily injure them. When the Blood Moon Serpent appears, this could be our lifeline." Yichuan looked from the volatile orbs to her determined expression. She just carries world-ending weapons in her shirt? Note to self, never make her actually angry. "You're something else. I'll go up and take a look first." He leaped from the cliff face, landing deftly on the ledge she had pointed to. Before him was a breathtaking sight, a patch of stunning, pulsating red flowers that cast an ethereal glow on the surrounding rock. From her vantage point across the gap, Xianan's voice rang out, clear and excited even from a distance. "They're real!" she exclaimed, her delight echoing off the canyon walls. "And they're not just blood moon flowers. These are the extremely rare blood crystal twin flowers. This is incredible luck." But her celebration was cut short. A sudden, primal silence fell over the gorge. From the deepest shadows of the cave behind Yichuan, A monstrous, scaled head began to emerge. Two glowing red eyes, like smoldering coals, opened and fixed their gaze directly on the flower in Yichuan's hand. Yichuan stood rooted to the spot, utterly stunned by the sudden appearance of the massive creature. It was the blood moon great python. But through Yichuan's unique, profession-skewed lens, the terrifying serpentine head underwent a bizarre transformation. He was now staring down a monster with the head of a gigantic, demonic pig. Yet Yichuan remained completely unfazed. He glanced from the flower in his hand back to the colossal beast, and with a tone of pure, casual annoyance, asked, "What are you looking at? Never seen a flower before?" Yichuan didn't back down. He kept taunting the massive pig snake, yelling, "What's your damn problem, huh? Never seen a guy pick flowers before?" The giant creature actually paused, its glowing red eyes looking genuinely confused by this lunatic who wasn't running away screaming. Seeing his opening, Yichuan snatched the flower and booked it, leaping off the ledge like his life depended on it. From the opposite cliff, Xiaonan saw him hauling ass and screamed, "Move your butt faster! Watch out!" She yelled, and with all her strength, she chucked one of her thunder fire beads. The little sphere flew through the air and exploded right in the python's face with a massive fiery blast. The shockwave threw Yichuan to the ground. Xiaonan rushed over to him. "Hey! You okay?" she asked, her voice full of worry. They both scrambled to the cliff edge to check out the damage. And damn, was it a sight! The explosion had completely blown the python's massive head. "Whoa," Yichuan muttered, stunned. "Did that little bead really just do that?" The massive python, with its burned head unable to guide its movements, lashed out wildly and missed them completely. Losing its balance, it tumbled off the cliff. With the immediate danger over, Yichuan casually held out the glowing flower to Xiaonan. "Here. Take it." Her face lit up like a kid on Christmas morning as she took the precious blood crystal twin flower. Once the adrenaline started to fade, Yichuan asked, "So what's the big deal with this flower anyway?" Xiaonan explained that this wasn't just any old flower. It was a mutated version of the snow moon flower. The regular one could just slow down aging, but this one? This bad boy could grant eternal youth. There isn't a woman in the world who wouldn't want this. Yichuan listened intently, and a new thought hit him. If this flower was that amazing, his own mom would absolutely love one too. So he grabbed his sword, got up, and leaped away to another part of the cliffside where more flowers were growing. Xiaonan watched him go, a hopeful smile spreading across her face. She totally thought he was going to get the second flower as a gift for her. Finally, she thought, he's getting a clue. But instead of presenting it to her with a flourish, Yichuan just carefully tucked the second flower into his backpack. For Mom. Their little victory party was instantly crashed by a deafening, earth-shaking roar. They spun around to see some straight-up bullshit. The blood moon great python was not dead. Its blown-off head was rapidly regenerating, flesh and bone knitting back together right before their horrified eyes. Xiaonan was completely shook. It survived the thunder fire bead. She gasped, realizing this monster's power had to be at the peak of the 9th rank. This thing was a damn tank. Facing the fully regenerated nightmare, Yichuan shot her a look. "You got any more of those party favors?" She panicked, shouting back, "My dad only gave me 2. That was it." The python, now good as new, loomed over Yichuan, its eyes burning with pure rage. But Yichuan, the king of being unimpressed, didn't flinch. He decided to go with his signature move, activating his blood shadow butcher ability. A terrifying aura erupted from him, projecting a nightmare vision into the python's mind. The massive beast actually froze for a second, totally freaked out. Thinking fast, Yichuan grabbed Xiaonan and launched them both to safety on another ledge. He immediately scolded her. "What the hell were you doing? Why didn't you run?" Blushing, she stammered, I was waiting for you. I thought you risked your life to get that flower for me." Yichuan turned to her with a deadpan expression. "No," he stated bluntly. "It's for my mother." The revelation absolutely crushed her romantic fantasy. Her face twisted in utter frustration. Well, that's embarrassing. Having shaken off the mental attack, the python turned its glowing red eyes back on its prey. With another terrifying roar it lunged, its massive jaws wide open ready to swallow them whole. Yichuan grabbed Xiananen's hand and tried to run, but it was way too late. Damn it, this is such a hassle, he thought internally, being weighed down by someone else. In a split-second decision, he shoved her out of the way, sending her tumbling to safety just as the python's jaws snapped shut around him with a sickening crunch. Xiananen scrambled to her feet, screaming Yichuan. In pure horror. She stood frozen, watching as the massive python loomed over her next. Yichuan! Come out! She begged. The beast opened its jaws to swallow her too, but just before it could strike, something happened. A brilliant, glowing red light erupted from inside the python's throat. Then, the tip of a blade sliced through from the inside. The monster recoiled in agony, its body thrashing wildly as it was being torn apart from the inside out. Finally, with a gross, gory explosion, the python's body burst open. And Yichuan emerged, soaked head to toe in monster blood, having literally butchered his way out from the inside. Now that's a pig butcher. Standing there like a boss in the middle of the python's bloody remains, Yichuan looked over at a stunned Xiananen and asked, all casual, were you just calling for me? Overcome with a massive wave of relief, she rushed forward and threw her arms around him in a tight hug. I'm so glad you're okay, she exclaimed. Then she immediately gagged and pushed him back. Ugh, you smell awful. You were almost that thing's poop. She recoiled, covering her nose in disgust. Right on cue, a system notification popped up in Yichuan's vision, because of course it did. Special pig eliminated. Experience gained, 80% level up. New rank, 8th rank apprentice. Pig nemesis bonus, plus 1% damage. New perk, plus 0.2 free attribute points per pig slain. With their quest totally complete, Yichuan told Xiananen, alright, let's bounce. Time to go back. They made their way back to Qingqing City, arriving at the main gates where a small crowd was waiting anxiously. An older dude in fancy traditional robes rushed forward, looking super relieved. Young miss, he scolded. You returned so late. You had me worried sick. But Xiananen was beaming. She held up the glowing blood crystal twin flower like a trophy. Look! We found it! Mother is going to be so happy. The man, who was clearly a family steward, started to lecture her. This was far too reckless. The world outside the city is extremely dangerous. Xiananen cut him off. I wanted to pick it for Mother myself. And it was fine, she insisted, gesturing to Yichuan. With him protecting me, there were no problems. The steward's gaze finally shifted to the blood-soaked young man beside her. And who is this, young man? He asked, his tone a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Yichuan didn't even blink. A pig butcher, he stated bluntly. The steward was completely taken aback. A pig butcher? He couldn't process why the young miss of the mighty Xia family would trust her safety to some guy with a simple life-type profession. But then he looked at Yichuan's calm, unfazed demeanor, and the lingering evidence of a serious fight. Could this unassuming kid have actually killed that beast? Shaking off his doubts, the steward put on a polite face. Well, young Master Yi, your promise is remarkable for one so young. Trying to be slick, he took off a fancy gold ring. Please, accept this Xia family gold ring. It's worth 200,000. A small reward for your service. But Yichuan just pushed the man's hand away. Don't want it, he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. He looked the steward dead in the eye. I just want a pig-slaying knife. We had a deal.